This is my home. I hate it. The only good thing about this house is the story I can tell from it. It began here, at Merrill. I guess that makes no sense. Let me explain. I lived on the 5th floor over the summer. One day, toward the beginning of the quarter, there was a power outage. My neighbor said there was a bunch of people gathered in front of the elevator, so I went down with my roommates. We migrated to a lounge, and that's where I met this one guy. This guy. Ted. He was the start of all the problems.
A gentleman named Ted who approached us with a great business opportunity for a couple of young aspiring students. And this project that he sold to us was the idea that we would come together in a house and create a profitable business. Now, this did not happen.
I just wanted a place to live off campus for the school year. And since he just needed more people in the house and I had to put in no work, I agreed to live in the house with a bunch of people I didn't know or barely knew. Great idea. This guy was super sketchy from the start.
So we had warning signs that this was getting sketchy from, pretty early on. But we were willing to ignore them.
So I moved into the house 2 days before I was going to move on campus and voided my 2-year on-campus contract for this. Great idea. It was agreed that everyone in the house essentially gave Ted the money and he'd hand it to the landlord. This sounds so stupid, but Ted's demeanor led you to believe he wouldn't actually go through with doing anything wrong.
The household, it was sort of working.
I was skeptical, but the first few months' payments went through fine. There were no problems. Things were working, so there's no reason to believe things would change otherwise. I guess it's time to introduce the members of the household. There's me, one of my roommates from over the summer, Ian, this guy, Hudson, and Greg, with his service dog, Zelda. We'll get into her later. And of course, Ted. My initial setup was the dining room area. It was supposed to be converted into an actual room, but that definitely was never actually going to happen. All of a sudden, a new person appears. This guy. This guy's huge. I'm not. He introduces himself as a simple, "Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm moving in." I just laughed because I thought it was a joke. He then has no other option but to place his stuff in my designated area. There's no other space. All with me being completely unaware that this was even going to happen. No communication beforehand whatsoever. But whatever, I'm a patient person, so I dealt with it. Hudson enjoyed playing with the dog. A little too rough, among other issues he introduced to the house, like parties. He got into an argument with Ted, and since Ted was seen as the leader of the house, he went through with evicting Hudson, and he was removed from the home. I'm actually kind of jealous. Eventually, it's November. Ted was apparently taking online classes at the University of San Francisco and claimed he had a presentation, so he had to go for a day or two. Ted wasn't the most hygienic person, and didn't have many things. I remember coming home one day and thought there was just too much missing, but seeing that Ted didn't have many things, assumed he just needed to take those things. On the 3rd day, he messages a few people in the house saying it's going to take longer than he thought, that he had dinner with a professor or something.
Our landlord's agent came up and knocked on the door and said, "Here's a 3-day pay or quit. You guys probably knew this was coming for a while, and have a nice day."
We were being evicted. I knew immediately Ted wasn't coming back. Others wanted to believe that wasn't the case, but he was gone. And so was $3,000 we weren't getting back. We spoke to the landlord the next day. We didn't have to worry about losing our home, but there was no way of finding Ted. In fact, the only thing we found out was that his name wasn't even Ted.
We did some research and found out that his real name was not Ted, it was something else.
Except that wasn't his real name, and we didn't find that out until later.
Later, as we found out,
His name was Robert Ross. Time passed, we got over the scam and moved another person in, Evelyn. She had visited a few times to do homework or something, and I think she thought the house was going to be more fun than it turned out to be. The primary reason it wasn't is this guy, Greg. I don't understand how one person can be such a terrible human being. He claims to have anxiety and needs a service dog and other excuses for disability resources, but all I see after living with him is a narcissist with a lack of cognitive control, who drives literally everybody out of his life. Dude will never have a permanent friend who isn't addicted to drugs. His dog is 90% of the mess in the house, yet he throws all the problems at everyone else, because for whatever reason, he thinks he has the right. He also constantly smokes weed and is an alcoholic. Matt is even more unhygienic than Ted, or Robert, or whatever his name is. It's actually disgusting. And I have to room with him. I don't understand how I have the greatest luck. I think he showers once a week and brushes his teeth less than that, for about 20 seconds. Not to mention...
I guess I skipped over the pizza.
Yeah, tell me about the pizza. I love hearing this story.
Pizza.
I love the story.
I don't know how it even started, but I think there was one night where I didn't make it any better anyway. So like I don't know how it started. He just started buying pizzas. I don't know if it was just one day he was like, "I want a pizza," and the next day he was like, "I want another one," and the next day he was like, "What sounds good? Pizza." And that just like piled up. It was like a good 2 weeks of pizza boxes. I forget where they're from, probably like Domino's or something like that. And I didn't get a picture of it the first time. I didn't get a picture of it. I was, like, every time I walked by, I was like staring at the desk. It was just getting higher and higher, and I was like, this is ridiculous. This is disgusting. Why don't you have a kidney stone? I don't deserve this. Like, I don't eat healthy, but I don't do that.
Yeah.
And he'd eat them, like, the entire pizza in that same sitting. So that was just his dinner.
Ooh.
Every single day. It wasn't like he ate like some, left it, and had the leftovers the next day. He'd that one. He'd buy a pizza for dinner, eat it, like a full-size pizza, not like a single serving. Full-size pizza, and eat it for dinner.
He even lives in a shed in the back of the house. He's not supposed to, but he does. I rarely see him. Evelyn stayed in her room most of the time. She didn't last in the house. Greg got to her. She moved back on campus 2 months before our lease was up. I tried to do the same 4 weeks before the quarter was over, but financial reasons got in the way. Greg actually took it upon himself to grab every pot and pan and utensils and just throw them away.
Like nobody should have to deal with
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
It's ridiculous, and he thinks he's like right, like he's in the right to do that. First of all, it's not his pots and pans. He doesn't have the right to just throw them away. They're the house's. It's not his. Like, they're everybody's.
Yeah.
So like I don't think legally allowed to do that.
No, he's not.
And it sucks. So like I go to a landlord about that. I'm like, he's doing all this stuff. They're like, go on campus. I'm like, okay, so I went on campus. They're like, you want to move back on? You got to pay for it. I'm like, I can't do that.
There must be some curse on this house. Nothing seems to go right. It doesn't help it's right next to a cemetery. Our utility bills are far beyond what any home should be paying for, especially since we don't utilize very much of anything. There's one good thing to come from this house. Don't ask her name. It's in Japanese, and I'm bad at pronouncing it. I actually don't know if it's a girl, but she was left from a previous resident, so we brought her in. I locked her in my room. She hates the dog and tries to kill it. And that's why I love her. This is not my home.
I didn't believe it when my enemy had quit before the bloodshed.